He slapped me hard, the sound echoing in the room. Then he grabbed my hair and slammed my head against the wall. The pain spread through me, but what hurt more was his betrayal. I had just given birth to our daughter, and instead of being happy, his face was filled with anger. "I wanted a son," he hissed, and those words stung more than the slap. The man who once loved me now looked at me with rage. I couldn't understand how things had gotten so bad. Just hours earlier, I held our daughter, Angela, for the first time. Her tiny face was full of innocence and hope. I thought she would bring us closer, make us a stronger family. But Raymond barely even looked at her. His first words were, "You failed me, Patricia." It was as if he couldn't even stand the sight of her, because she wasn't a boy. Tears filled my eyes, not because of the pain from his slap, but because my heart was breaking. The man I loved, the father of my child, had turned into someone I didn't recognize. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. All I could think about was how fast everything had fallen apart. My name is Patricia, and this is the story of how my life was torn apart, and how I found the strength to rebuild it. It's a story of betrayal, heartbreak, and, in the end, hope. It all began in Louisville, back in high school, when I first met Raymond Timothy. Raymond was quiet, always sitting in the library working on his computer. He was different from the other boys, who cared more about sports or parties. Something about him caught my attention. He seemed so focused, so serious. I remember watching him from across the room, wondering what he was thinking as he typed away. After weeks of working up the courage, I finally went up to him. "Hey, Raymond, do you have a minute?" I asked, my heart pounding so loud I thought he could hear it. I was sure he could hear my heart pounding. He looked up from his computer, surprised. His eyes narrowed for a moment in confusion, then softened. "Oh, sure," he said, his voice quiet but friendly. From that moment, we were inseparable. Raymond became my high school sweetheart, the boy who made me believe in forever. We spent countless hours together, talking about everything and nothing. We had big dreams. He wanted to work in tech, and I wanted to build a career in marketing. We made plans, whispered promises under the stars, and shared our first kiss at prom. It felt like a fairy tale, like nothing could ever tear us apart. By the time we graduated, I was sure we were meant to be together. We got married when I was 24, filled with hope and excitement. I had just started my job as a marketing consultant, and Raymond was working as an IT technician. Life seemed perfect, especially when we found out I was pregnant. I believed our love could handle anything. But I was wrong. The early days of motherhood felt magical. I remember holding Angela in my arms, listening to her tiny breaths as she slept. I would watch Raymond holding her too, though not as much as I had hoped. The joy I saw on his face the first time he held her quickly faded. Soon, he grew distant, and with every passing day, the space between us seemed to grow larger. Everything changed after Angela was born. Raymond started coming home late from work, and sometimes he wouldn't come home at all. I would sit on the couch, heart racing, waiting to hear the front door creak open. I hoped he would give me some kind of explanation to calm the worry twisting in my stomach. "Where have you been?" I would ask, trying to keep my voice steady, not wanting to sound accusing. But deep down, I was scared of what the truth might be. "Just work, Patricia," he would say, brushing past me without even looking me in the eye. "You know how it is." But I didn't know. All I knew was that things were falling apart. I felt like I was losing him, and every day, the man I had fallen in love with seemed further out of reach. The breaking point came one evening during another argument. The house was silent except for the ticking clock, a reminder of how late it was. I had stayed up waiting for him again. When Raymond finally came through the door, it was clear something was wrong. He looked tense and avoided meeting my eyes. "Where have you been?" I asked again. "This isn't just about work, Raymond. What's going on?" My frustration was building, and I couldn't keep it inside any longer. I was tired, emotionally and physically, and I couldn't handle the growing distance between us anymore. Then Raymond snapped at me, his voice harsh and cutting. "I'm doing my best. Maybe if you weren't so needy all the time, I wouldn't have to stay out," he said. His words felt like a slap in the face, but what happened next was even worse. In a flash of anger, Raymond lunged at me. His hands grabbed my neck, and he pushed me down onto the floor with such force that I couldn't breathe for a moment. I lay there, stunned, staring up at him in disbelief. This was the man I married, the man I built a life with, but now he felt like a complete stranger. Time seemed to stop. The only thing I could hear was the sound of my heartbeat pounding in my ears. He didn't just hurt me physically, it felt like he broke my spirit, crushing any hope I had that things could ever go back to the way they were. I stayed on the floor, frozen, as he stormed out of the house. He didn't come back for days. I didn't call him. I didn't know what to say or how to even process what had happened. But deep down, I knew things would never be the same. Then came the betrayal that shattered the last bit of hope I had. Weeks had passed since that night, and Raymond's absence had become a constant ache. I tried to hold myself together for Angela, but the loneliness ate away at me, leaving me feeling lost and empty. One evening, as I scrolled through my phone trying to escape the silence in the house, I saw something that made my heart stop. It was a photo of Raymond, smiling and carefree. But he wasn't alone. Standing next to him, laughing on a beach, was Maria, my younger sister. At first, I thought it must be a mistake, maybe an old photo from before things fell apart. But as I looked through more pictures, the truth became clear. There they were, photo after photo, looking like a happy couple. My stomach turned as I realized what had been happening right in front of me. Maria, my sister, the one I trusted, the one who was supposed to have my back, was part of this nightmare. I felt like I couldn't trust anyone anymore. Maria had betrayed me in the worst way. I stared at my phone, feeling numb. How long had this been going on? Were they seeing each other while Raymond and I were still trying to fix our marriage? How could they do this to me and to Angela? That night, my hands shook as I dialed my parents. When my mom answered, her voice was warm and comforting, but I couldn't hold back my tears. "Mom," I sobbed. "Maria, she's with Raymond. They've been seeing each other." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. When my mom finally spoke, her voice was full of shock and sadness. "Patricia, I don't know what to say. I'm so sorry. We'll help you however we can." But no words could take away the pain of that betrayal. It felt like my whole world had crumbled. I had lost my husband and my sister all at once. It was a double betrayal, and it left me feeling more alone than ever. The days that followed were a blur of heartbreak and disbelief. I tried to focus on Angela, giving her the love and care she needed, but it was hard. Every time I thought about what Raymond and Maria had done, the anger and hurt would rise again, threatening to drown me. Then, as if things couldn't get worse, I found out they had been taking money from our joint bank account. My money. They were using it to fund their new, fancy lifestyle, leaving me with unpaid bills and an empty account. They hadn't just broken my trust, they had taken everything. My family, my financial security, my hope. One of my darkest days became a turning point when a familiar face walked through my door. It was Mr. Timothy, Raymond's father. He had always been kind to me, treating me like the daughter he never had. Now, as he sat beside me, the sadness in his eyes reflected my own. "I'm so sorry for what Raymond has done, Patricia," he said softly, his voice full of regret. "I had no idea things had gotten this bad. I want to help you." He handed me a document. "I set aside $400,000 for Angela's future. Please take it." Tears filled my eyes, but I shook my head. "I can't accept charity," I said, even though I felt broken inside. "I need to stand on my own," I said. "This isn't charity," Mr. Timothy insisted. "It's for Angela, and I want to help you rebuild. You're strong, Patricia, stronger than you realize. Let's turn this around. You've always had a talent for design. Why not open your own home decor boutique? Use this money to create something for yourself and for Angela. You deserve that." His words sparked something inside me, something I thought was lost. For so long, I had felt powerless, trapped in the mess that Raymond and Maria had caused. But now, I could see a way out, a chance to start over and take back control of my life. With Mr. Timothy's encouragement, I decided to take a leap of faith. The idea of starting a home decor boutique gave me hope, something positive to focus on. I used the money to rent a small storefront in a busy part of Louisville. Over the next few months, I poured all my energy into making my dream a reality. I obsessed over every detail, the arrangement of furniture, the colors on the walls, and the lighting that would make the space warm and welcoming. I wanted the boutique to feel like a place of beauty and comfort, reflecting the life I was trying to rebuild for Angela and myself. I worked long hours, sometimes staying up late after putting Angela to bed. It was exhausting, but for the first time in months, I felt alive again. Each sketch, each display I arranged, felt like a small piece of my life coming back together. This boutique was more than just a business. It was my way of creating a future, one that didn't include Raymond or Maria. The day of the grand opening arrived, and I stood outside the shop, my heart pounding with excitement and nerves. The space looked perfect, filled with elegant furniture, hand-picked home decor, and carefully arranged displays. I had put everything I had into this dream, and now it was time to see if it would succeed. Mr. Timothy stood beside me, his support a constant source of strength. He had been there every step of the way, offering advice, encouragement, and even helping with the heavy lifting when things got tough. "You've done it, Patricia," he said, pride in his voice. "This place is going to thrive." "Thank you," I said, feeling a warmth spread through me. I knew I couldn't have done it without him. He had believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. As the doors opened, customers started to come in, admiring the displays and browsing through the items. It was the start of something new, something that felt like hope and a fresh beginning. I greeted every customer with a smile, sharing my love for design and helping them find the perfect pieces for their homes. The excitement in the shop was contagious, and for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful. Graceful Designs was off to a great start, and I could finally see a future where I didn't have to rely on anyone but myself. But just as I was beginning to heal, the past came crashing back. It started with messages from Maria. She mocked and taunted me, as if she couldn't stand the idea of me moving on without them. She sent pictures of her and Raymond at exotic locations, on beaches, at luxury resorts, and in fancy restaurants. Each message felt like a stab to my heart, reopening old wounds that had barely begun to heal. In one message, she wrote, "You're really going to let that little shop keep you busy? You should come visit us. Life is amazing here." I tried to ignore her, but the anger and pain boiled inside me. How could she be so cruel? She had already taken everything, my husband, my money, my trust, and now she couldn't even let me have this one thing, the new life I was building for Angela and me. One evening, after another hurtful message from Maria, I couldn't hold it in any longer. I broke down and called Mr. Timothy. My voice shook as I tried to explain how much this was hurting me. "I thought I was moving on," I said through tears. "But every time Maria contacts me, it's like I'm being pulled back into the same nightmare. I don't know how to make it stop." Mr. Timothy listened patiently, his calm voice grounding me. "Patricia," he said gently, "you've come so far. Don't let them keep this power over you. It's time to take control." His words struck a chord. He was right. I had worked too hard to let Maria and Raymond ruin what I was building. I couldn't let them control my emotions anymore. But I needed closure. I needed to confront them once and for all. Mr. Timothy had an idea. "What if we use their greed against them?" he suggested. "They've already shown you what they care about most, money. We can spread a rumor that you're about to receive a big inheritance. It would bring them back here, and then you can confront them on your terms." At first, the idea seemed too wild, but the more I thought about it, the more sense it made. Greed had always been their weakness. If I could use that to draw them back, I might finally get the closure I needed. We went ahead with the plan, spreading a rumor through mutual acquaintances about a large inheritance I was supposed to receive. It was risky, but I felt ready to face them and take back my power. The rumor about the inheritance spread quickly, and we knew it wouldn't take long for Raymond and Maria to hear about it. We were right. Within weeks, they were back in Louisville, drawn by the promise of easy money. They walked into graceful designs with smug looks on their faces, trying to hide their greed behind fake smiles. It felt strange seeing them standing there together, Raymond, the man I once loved, and Maria, the sister who had betrayed me. They looked like they had the perfect life, but I could see the cracks. There was desperation in their eyes, no matter how hard they tried to hide it. "Patricia," Raymond said casually, as if nothing had happened. "It's been a while. We heard about this big inheritance. Care to share the details?" I forced a smile, keeping calm. "Actually," I said, my voice steady, "you'll find out soon enough." We sat down at a small table in the boutique. The air was tense. They were eager, hungry for the money they thought was coming. But they didn't realize this wasn't about them. This was about me, taking back control of my life. As I sat across from them, I could feel the weight of everything they had done. The lies, the betrayal, the pain they caused. But I stayed composed. This was my moment, and I wasn't going to let them see me break. "I know what you've both done," I said, my voice calm but firm. "You stole from me. You lied. You betrayed me. And now you think you can just walk back into my life and take more?" Raymond shifted in his seat, his confidence starting to crack. "Patricia, it's not like that." "Oh, it's exactly like that." I cut him off, locking eyes with him. "But I'm not the woman you left behind. I've built a life for myself, and I'm doing just fine. And as for the inheritance you're so eager to get your hands on, it's not going to either of you." Maria's face twisted in anger. "You're making a mistake, Patricia," she snapped, her voice shaking. "We're family." I let out a bitter laugh. "Family doesn't betray each other, Maria. You lost that title the moment you decided to steal from me." Just then, the door to the boutique opened, and Mr. Timothy walked in. His calm, steady presence made the room feel heavier. He approached the table and sat down beside me, his gaze fixed on Raymond and Maria. "The inheritance," Mr. Timothy said, his voice strong and steady, "is going to Angela. Neither of you are entitled to a single penny." The shock on their faces was priceless. They hadn't expected this, and it was clear they didn't know what to say. For the first time, I felt like I had the upper hand. I could see their world falling apart as they realized they had been outsmarted. For the first time, I saw fear in their eyes, the fear of losing everything they had so confidently assumed would be theirs. Raymond opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. His usual smugness was gone, replaced by a desperation I had never seen before. Maria, too, was silent, her earlier boldness crumbling as the truth sank in. As they stormed out of the boutique, defeated, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. I had taken back my power, and it was an incredible feeling. I had reclaimed control of my life and my future, and there was nothing they could do to change that. In the weeks that followed, graceful designs continued to thrive. The boutique became a favorite spot in the community, with customers coming back week after week to explore the collections I had worked so hard to create. Each day, I grew more confident in myself and the new life I was building for Angela and me. But even with the boutique's success, the memories of Raymond and Maria still lingered. I couldn't forget how they had torn my life apart. I knew I wouldn't feel true closure until they faced the consequences of their actions. Then one morning I received a notice from the court. It was time for the legal case against Raymond to move forward. Not only had he betrayed me financially, but he had also physically hurt me. Now, justice was finally within reach. The courtroom was tense as Raymond stood before the judge. I sat quietly in the gallery, my hands clasped tightly in my lap, listening as the charges were read: domestic violence and theft. The weight of what he had done was clear for everyone to see. There was no escaping the truth now. When it was my turn to testify, I spoke about the night he hurt me. I described the slap, how he slammed my head against the wall, and the pain it caused, not just physically but emotionally. The courtroom went silent as I spoke. It was hard to relive those moments, to talk about the betrayal and violence that had nearly destroyed me. But I knew it was something I had to do. It was necessary for my healing and for justice. I needed to make sure Raymond was held responsible for the pain he caused, not just to me, but to our daughter, too. The judge listened carefully to both sides, and after what felt like forever, the sentence was finally announced. Raymond was sentenced to 6 years in prison for physical assault and domestic violence. His face stayed emotionless as the verdict was read, but I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. This was justice. This was the closure I had been waiting for. But that wasn't all. In addition to the prison sentence, Raymond was ordered to pay a $100,000 fine for the pain and suffering he caused. While it was a small price compared to the damage he had done, it was a reminder that actions have consequences. The court also ruled that he must repay the money he stole from our joint account, ensuring Angela's future would be secure. When the gavel struck, marking the end of the trial, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief. Raymond was finally being held accountable, both physically and financially. As he was led out of the courtroom in handcuffs, I felt like I could breathe again. I had won. I had taken back control of my life, and there was nothing Raymond or Maria could do to change that. In the weeks that followed, Graceful Designs continued to thrive. The boutique became more than just a business. It was a symbol of my strength and everything I had overcome. Customers loved the shop, and soon I started expanding. I brought in exclusive designs and even began hosting workshops on interior decorating. But it wasn't just the success of the boutique that made me feel whole again. It was the small moments, watching Angela take her first steps, hearing her laugh as we played in the park, and knowing that I had created a life for us free from Raymond and Maria's toxic influence. Mr. Timothy continued to be a steady presence in our lives, always offering support and guidance when I needed it. He had been there from the start, helping me rebuild when everything fell apart, and I knew I could always count on him. As time went on, the memories of Raymond and Maria faded into the background. They were replaced by a sense of peace and fulfillment. I no longer felt the need to look over my shoulder, wondering if they would try to come back into my life. They were gone, and I was free. One evening, as I sat with Angela, watching her play and laugh, I realized how far I had come. My life was no longer defined by pain or betrayal, but by hope, strength, and a future filled with love and possibility. I stood in the boutique, watching the sunset over Louisville, and thought about how far I had come. I wasn't the same woman who had been shattered by betrayal and heartbreak. I had rebuilt my life from scratch, and I was stronger than ever. As I closed the shop and locked the door for the night, I felt a deep sense of peace. This was just the beginning. I had taken back my life, my happiness, and my future. Whatever challenges came my way, I knew I was ready to face them with strength and courage. Thank you for listening to Patricia's journey of betrayal, strength, and justice. If her story inspired you, please hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments. For more stories of resilience and empowerment, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Your support helps us continue to share powerful stories like this one. Stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next video.